Welcome to Search for Signs. My name is Gary Willing. If this information interests you, please press the like and subscribe button and press the bell for notifications. I hope you're doing well today. It is actually the first day of spring, so it's March 21st, 2020. And the interesting thing about yesterday's date, 3/20/20, was it was 3/20/20 and there were three 2020s in the date. It's kind of interesting. This year's turning out to be a banner year. So I hope you are looking after yourself. I hope you're looking after each other and taking care of yourself, And we're going to all get through this. We're going to have to get through it together. And I put up a video yesterday, and a person didn't comment, asked a question. And unfortunately, I'm not able to address this person by name because they wrote their name, their YouTube channel is written in Arabic, and I do apologize to this person. But the question that they wrote was, will Maitreya come on the day of the Universal Declaration 2020? Now, I'm not familiar with that term, the day of the Universal Declaration. What I will say is, Maitreya has already come. He left his retreat in the Himalayas that he'd been living in for ages and entered London quietly in July 19th, 1977, a day that in probably the very near future will be a day that people will recognize as probably one of the single greatest events in human history, but yet everyone missed it with the exception of Benjamin Creme, because Benjamin Creme knew about it and didn't tell anybody till after July 19th, 1977. But it will be a day that people will realize, well, they'll put in their calendars as a momentous day for humanity. The Christ entered the world very quietly, very, simply. But that's always been the MO of the Christ. People always imagine the Christ coming back on the clouds in a blaze of glory. He did that symbolically, but not literally. Just as Jesus, when he entered Jerusalem on, Palm Sunday, rode on a donkey, very simple. People were expecting the Messiah to come back on a horse, with a sword and a fiery blaze, or however that's predicted in the Old Testament. And he did that symbolically. But in reality, he came as a simple man. The Christ has always been a simple man, a simple brother. People misinterpret their own scriptures and call Maitreya Antichrist because they're expecting somebody different. And they think that he will present himself as this world leader with the answer to all our problems. And he will be the answer to our problems and will fool billions of people and lead them away from the real message or the real information or the real belief that Jesus is the only true Son of God. And in reality, he is just a brother of ours. And he's a brother that has stayed because he loves humanity so dearly. But I'm going to, before I read one of Benjamin Creme's master's messages about who Maitreya really is, I want to say that, to answer this question again, is Maitreya, since January 2010, has already been out on TV. He's been speaking to humanity, but yet very simply, very quietly. But according to Benjamin Creme's own master, he's already, millions of people have already seen him. So he must be a fairly well-known face on TV, and he's just not speaking in a way, and he's a master of being able to speak, to people without being recognized, but yet is still having an effect on the hearts and the minds of the people who are listening to him, where they're, according to Benjamin Creme's own master, those who hear the sincerity of his words, feel the love of what he's saying, are taking it into their own hearts and are internalizing what he's saying. They're maybe not acting on it yet, but they're looking at it like, this seems like it could be the answer that we're looking for. And the answer is, Maitreya is never going to present himself as the answer. He has the answer, which is we have to look after ourselves. We're one family. We can't keep living life like this. And that's why with this crisis that's going on in the world today, we're never going back to the way it was. It's dead, you know. Now, we have a choice as a people. We can either have what's waiting for us be a brilliant and golden future, or lead us to destruction. And it's our choice. This is it. We're at that point now. For the last year, I've been talking about how Maitreya has talked about we have a choice to make. Well, folks, we are there right now. If you can't see it, you might never see it. This is the choice that we have. You know, will it be rocky in the interim? Yeah, but that's why we have to rely on each other. And if we don't, we could slip down that slippery path and go right off the cliff, which I know we're not. Maitreya says he already knows how we're going to answer that question. What are we going to do? Are we going to choose peace or are we going to choose destruction? He already knows the answer, and he says that our answer and our choice makes him glad. He's the guarantee that we're going to get through this. The fact that he's able to even go on TV and speak to humanity in this way is the guarantee that we will get through this. The other thing is that Maitreya, people have always, since I've been putting up these videos, a lot of people who have known about this information for decades have always questioned why Maitreya is not being recognized on TV. Why isn't anybody seeing him and all this kind of stuff? They are just not seeing him. They might have even seen him on TV, but they're not recognizing him. I don't know, But when we look back on this time, this transition between the old and the new, we will realize that his timing was absolutely perfect. And the way he did it, the way he came out on TV and addressed humanity simply and quietly as a brother of ours, and not as this taunted spiritual being, giant, which he really is, we will realize is the absolute perfect way to have done it. That Maitreya said once in Hyde Park, keep your eyes on the prize, and the prize is humanity, because we have to realize ourselves what we have to do. Maitreya is just going to guide us. He's not going to ever present himself or advertise himself as the answer. The answer is within us. And so we do need help. We do need help from these masters, because we're living in this dysfunctional world that we're living in. But we still have everything we need right now. Nothing's changed. It's just the economic structure that has been put in place for decades and decades and decades to serve the tiny at the expense of the many is crumbling right now. And who really should be scared are the men and women of money, because they're about to lose their power, but it's going to transfer to the people. The people are going to take over and demand change, demand justice, demand that we have, a saner ecological plan put in place. And Maitreya's part in that is going to be the voice of the people. He's going to articulate what we're already thinking in all our hearts, demanding oneness, demanding unity, but on a practical level, not on a pie-in-the-sky level. Oneness in our political structures, oneness in our economic and social and all the structures that we have put in place, educational, healthcare, practically. And I wanted to end it there, my commentary there, and of course read one of Benjamin Creme's master's articles, which I think hands down speaks about who Maitreya is really. And all the views that people have about Maitreya, this is really goes to the heart of who he is. And Benjamin Creme himself read this master's article, and it would do yourself a favor and search for the Son of Man on YouTube and Benjamin Creme and listen to him speak it. But I'm going to read it in this one and on this again in this video, and because to remind us all of who is on TV speaking to humanity now. And so I again wish you well. Stay safe, take care of yourself, take care of each other, and love one another. And we're going to get through this. But this article is entitled "The Son of Man," and it was written by Benjamin Creme's master way back in June of 1984. The Son of Man. Many people await the return of the Christ with trepidation and fear. They sense that his presence will promote great changes in all departments of life. His values, they rightly assume, will necessarily alter their ways of thinking and living, and they blanch at such a prospect. Besides, so mystical has been the view of the Christ presented down the centuries by the churches that many fear his judgment and omnipotent power. They await him as God, come to punish the wicked and reward the faithful. It is sadly to be regretted that such a distorted vision of the Christ should so have permeated human consciousness. No such being exists. In order to understand the true nature of the Christ, it is necessary to see him as one among equal sons of God, each endowed with full divine potential, differing only in the degree of manifestation of that divinity. That he has achieved the fullness of that divinity is his glory, and well may we stand in reverence at this achievement. That this same achievement is rare indeed is also indisputably true. But the wonder of the Christ for men is that he was one of them. Not there is in the trials and sufferings of men, but he did know it. Each step of the path that men still tread has he painfully trodden. Nothing is there in the whole panorama of human experience that he has not shared. Thus, truly is he the Son of Man. There can be little doubt that were he to appear unannounced in our midst, few would recognize him. So far from the general notion is he that he would pass unnoticed in the crowd. Thus it is today among his brothers as he awaits man's invitation to begin his mission. Many who see him daily know him not. Others recognize him but are afraid to speak. Still others wait and pray, hopeful that he may be the one for whom they dare not hope. Only his declaration before the world will establish him in the sight and hearts of men. While we await that day of days, let us clarify in our minds the reason for his return. Let us understand the nature of the task which he has set himself. To establish in our midst the fact of God has he come. To recreate the divine mysteries is he here. To teach men how to love and love again is he among us. To establish men's brotherhood does he walk the earth once more. To keep faith with the Father and with man does he accept this burden. To usher in the new age has he returned. To consolidate the treasure of the past and to inspire the marvels of the future, to glorify God and man, has he descended from his high mountain. Let us look at his priorities: the establishment of peace, the inauguration of the system of sharing, the removal of guilt and fear, the cleansing of the hearts and minds of men, the education of mankind in the laws of life and love, an introduction to the mysteries, the beautification of our cities, the removal of barriers to travel and interchange of peoples, the creation of a pool of knowledge accessible to all. That such a task is not an easy one, not even for the Son of Man, is clear. Ancient habits of division and separation have strong roots, while fear and superstition cast their spell over millions of mankind. But never before in the history of the world has a teacher come better equipped for his task. Maitreya has come to do battle with ignorance and fear, division and want. His weapons are spiritual understanding, knowledge, and love. His shining armor is truth itself. Remember to take action and help SOP save our planet. Thanks for listening, and we look forward to talking to you again in future videos.